So, hello everyone again. Thanks for joining this AMA. We are here to just clear any doubt that you might have about BrightID, or if you want to, we'll talk of any topic that is related somehow with the crypto space. We're just glad to have a conversation with our community. So, uh, well, right now we don't have any specific topic. If anyone has any questions, please ask. If there's nothing. Uh, if there's no question, we just going to start talking about well, several topics. So yeah, let's
Nice, and we've got
let
our first civil attack of the meeting.
cool. Yeah. So probably joining with his cell phone as well.
So
Okay, so I like right now there's um no question. So I'm going to start with some topic that I like. We were talking before the call about the well hearing that happened in the Congress in the United States yesterday. And one of the things that really struck me out like heavily is like there's a lot of concerns about um, participation of the different communities into the crypto space, and it has been one of the like positive topics on that hearing, like how cryptocurrency just help a lot in the inclusion and will Pride is working actually hard to achieve that even better, like yeah, just giving every single person um, the same like standing in our social graph, like every single person is equal to the other, no matter borders and stuff like that. So uh, I don't know if anyone has any specific thoughts on that regard, and I think it's really good probably to deep into that, to go deep into that. So I don't know if Philip wants to say something about it. You don't? Do you hear me? You don't.
what I, I guess the first thing that comes to my mind is one. I did not watch the hearing yesterday, but I saw
Okay.
snippets that people posted on Twitter, and there was one guy, uh, one congressman, and he was saying that all crypto transactions should come back to a real identity known to the government. And I should go find the clip and post it so you guys can watch. But he basically said, right, every crypto transaction that should happen, the government should be able to know who it was across the entire world for all people for every single transaction. And my reaction is no, that shouldn't be the case. And I certainly don't want you know terrorists and child pornographers, but come on, that is such a minority of the transactions that happen, and we can't give up all privacy in society because of like what a few bad actors could do. I don't think that should be given up, and I hope that people in our industry can build the tools that it is impossible for the government to do that, because I don't think a government should have that right. And particularly like, so the U.S. government, okay, as a U.S. citizen, I voted for some of them, not most of them, but some of the people there. Uh, but why should the U.S. government have authority of every human being on Earth? That's absurd. They didn't. Here on this call, the majority of people on this call are not from the United States. Why should the U.S. government get to know every bit about your financial transactions? So yeah, I'll just throw that out there, and I will go get that clip. I know I liked it on Twitter, so it's easy to find.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a really good topic about privacy and why we even care about privacy, because there's another camp that says, well, let's have radical transparency. Let's just, put everything out in the open, and then things will just be better somehow if we do that. And so yeah, I mean, and I understand governments, because governments, one of the things that they want to do is they want to make sure their laws are being upheld. And so I understand why they want to track everything that they can track, because like, so for example, one of the ways that they caught, there was a serial murderer in the United States. One of the ways they caught him is he stole someone's debit card and they tracked his spending across the American Southwest. And so they were able to find out what town he was in. So obviously, and then there's the Patriot Act, which says, okay, we need to surveil our citizens because some of the people in the United States are terrorists and we need to figure out who they are. So we need to be able to monitor everybody in the United States so that we can find who the terrorists are. So they justify things like that. But as far as like this, should everything be in the open? Should you, so if you had the choice, if it was up to you and not like mandated by some government that you have to keep everything in the open, but if you had the choice to keep absolutely everything that you did just out in the open, just complete transparency about everything, would you do that? It's kind of an interesting philosophical argument. Is like, what are the drawbacks of that? So up to this point, BrightID has said, no, we don't want to force anyone to be more transparent than they want to be. But I mean, what do you guys think? Is there a case to be made for like just saying, hey, everybody just share everything, just no secrets with anybody, just like everything you do or think, it's just like radically open, everything you spend, everything you do, it's just like, just make it open to everybody. What do you guys think?
No, I think everyone should have the right to just disclose as much as they can, as they want, sorry. So yeah, Philippe strongly disagrees. So I was seeing here saying no as well.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I heard that was from Dan Larimer, from EOS and BitShares and other stuff. He wrote an article on radical transparency and why that like the virtues of that. And it was interesting, but I can't remember all the reasons why I didn't agree with it.
Yeah, I certainly think there are plenty of places where more transparency would be better. But when it comes to like individual citizens, I think privacy should exist. And I will do a poor job of articulating sort of why, but I know like the cypherpunks, wrote about why privacy was essential to sort of the functioning of society. Like even if you don't need it, the fact that it like is there as an option, like avoids all sorts of societal ills.
Yeah, I would love for that to happen. I don't know how the United States is with the government information they share, the spending and all that stuff, but I would love to see every government just being totally open with how they spend the money and how they do it and what entities receiving what. That would be awesome to see through blockchain. But yeah, because they're just working with our money. So we should have that possibility. But yeah, for the regular people, they should have their privacy. That's
Yeah.
maybe.
So I was just skimming this article again, by Dan Larimer, and he said, well, he was saying that that there's this like inequality here where we would love our governments to be completely transparent with us, but we don't want to have to be transparent with them. And to me, it's like a power balance. The government has so much power that privacy feels like one of the ways that we can at least take back a little bit of that power for ourselves and kind of at least get closer to restoring that balance, that where we're not just being pushed so hard by a government to do certain things. So it feels like you want to feels like you want to carve out a little space for yourself where you can have some breathing room and have some autonomy, and privacy is part of that.
There it is from the Cypherpunk Manifesto. We must defend our own privacy if we expect to have any. We must come together and create systems which allow anonymous transactions to take place. People have been defending their own privacy for centuries with whispers, darkness, envelopes, and closed doors. Secret handshakes and couriers. The technologies of the past did not allow for strong privacy, but electronic technologies do. We, the cypherpunks, are dedicated to building anonymous systems.
I forgot about it. About that. I read that in 2013, I believe.
And it was written in
Yeah.
1993.
Mm.
So prior to any of this, like back when crypto meant cryptography, not tokens and money. Yeah, anyone that if you've not read, it's a very short little piece. It's like a page long. I'll post a link. If you've not read it, you should. It gets referred to all the time. Everyone should give it a read. The people that like built the foundational systems that we all are focused on now, this is what they did 20, 30 years ago. This is who they were. This is the DNA of everything we're doing now.
So if anyone is asking how BrightID is protecting yourself from, well, like we have introduced some changes lately that I'm not that technical person to just explain them. So if Adam or Michael wants to talk about it, or blind signatures. I know we already did a topic about it in the past, but just something brief.
Yeah, so thanks. That's a good segue. Yeah, so the BrightID has always had the motive of not collecting, like we're gonna have better security and better privacy by just not collecting data from users. We don't want your data. BrightID does not want your data. When you put your name and photo into BrightID, you're just sharing it peer-to-peer with the people that you're connecting to. It's not getting stored somewhere. It's not, that part is not getting analyzed. And that just makes it a lot easier to deal with security and potential problems like data leaks if you just don't have the data. So that's been our goal from the beginning. One of the things that we especially want to do is make it so that apps don't know who you are. Like when you make a connection to another person in BrightID, that person should know who you are. When you connect to an app in BrightID, that app should not know who you are. And that all that app needs to know, and this is kind of the foundation of BrightID, is that the app just wants to know that you're a unique person, that you're not coming into the app with 1,000 accounts. And you don't need to tell the app your name, your email address, your phone number, your picture of your face for the app to know that. So in the past, what we did before blind signatures is we would have nodes kind of be this buffer between, so BrightID nodes were kind of this buffer of privacy between apps and people, so that apps did not reference people by their BrightIDs, by their BrightID identifiers. They reference them by an app specific identifier. And then they would ask the BrightID node, okay, is the person referenced by this app specific identifier? Is this a unique person within my system? And then the BrightID nodes could give an answer to that. And but what that meant is that there was a mapping stored on the BrightID nodes between app IDs and BrightIDs. And what blind signature does, well, before I say that, so the security risk, there's still it's a much better than if apps were to store BrightIDs. If apps were to store BrightIDs, then, you know, if they store them in the wrong way, or there's some internal data breach or some external data breach, then then things could be leaked about BrightID users, like, oh, you're using this app and this is your profile in this app, and things that we don't want associated with BrightIDs could get leaked. So we knew we didn't want that. So we built the system that says, okay, even if the app leaks everything they know about BrightID users, there's nothing that to tie that back, like an attacker looking at that set of data can't figure out who's who those BrightID users are, because there's this intermediate identifier. But the problem is, then if BrightID nodes also leak their mapping and you put those two together, and maybe a third app leaks their information, now you can start to put pieces together. So multiple data breaches could cause problems in the old system. The new system with blind signatures is such that there is no mapping anywhere. What happens is that then BrightID node that signs the fact that that you're a unique person does so blindly with regards to your app identifier. So you come and you say, okay, I'm hello, Mr. BrightID node. I'm you know me as BrightID user with this identifier, this BrightID identifier. I'm going to have you sign something blindly that that says that I am verified as another identifier, which I'm not going to show to you. I'm not going to show you this other identifier you're signing. You just need to know that you're only going to sign it once in the context of this app. So it's actually a partially blind signature. So it does see the app that it's signing, but it doesn't see the app ID that it's signing. Then you can send that back to the app, and you can say, look, here's your user. Or the user can take it, or the node can deliver it, either way, and can say, okay, here's this user identified by this app ID, and now they're verified. You can see that they're verified as unique in BrightID. You don't get to know their BrightID. The node doesn't get to know the app ID. And so there's no way to make that connection. So that's really great for privacy, really great for preventing any sort of data breach from causing a problem. And so there are downsides to not having that information. One thing, like sometimes in the past, we've actually used some of this information. We've used the mappings that the node has. So we've used it to do things like retroactive airdrop, saying like, okay, well, we can show that you had this activity in this certain app, and so we're going to reward you for doing that. Or maybe, if you wanted to have a cross app sort of registry of Sybil attackers or something like that, you could do that. And so now that stuff is no longer possible. And it just means that apps have to approach things a little differently. They're a little more limited in what they can do, but they can still get that stamp of uniqueness from users. And we also encourage those to expire, those verifications to expire, so that a user doesn't get stuck. And also so that if someone becomes unverified, that it takes an effect. So you, behind the scenes, you get I guess re-verified, it resubmits the blind signature. You don't even have to do anything on your part. But let's say the app wants an update every month from you. You can kind of behind the scenes make that signature, send it over to the app, and every month they get to know, like, okay, yep, still good. And if for some reason, like, you get completely locked out of the app, the worst thing that could happen is that you just have to wait until it expires, and then you can get re-verified. So it's a much more private system, and we like it. It's also a simpler system because we don't have to maintain the mapping. So it's just an all-around better system. And so we're happy that we have that now.
well, on the same note, like some of the apps that like okay are going to be specific. So Aura is going to well allow this game on top of BrightID, and we're going to create a new type of connections. And in the past, we said okay, well Aura can just feed BrightID about those connections, and maybe will be a new point of truth for how the relations between our node well or the people is. So with this, that changes somehow, like Aura will need just to be active and share it with us somehow, or just, or it's now gone, that possibility.
Great question. So this goes back to the distinction between apps linking to users and users linking to users. So the Aura game is a way for power users to give more information about the people that they know so that they can help to verify the people that they know. So it's still people verifying people ultimately in BrightID. Aura is not an app, really. It's not a consumer of BrightID verifications. It's more like a producer of BrightID verifications. So within the Aura game, okay, so let's say that you're a regular user. Things look very much the same. You connect to someone that you know, and you get verified in BrightID. That's very much the same. If you're an Aura player, it means that you have a deeper understanding of BrightID, and you do some honesty research that that a regular BrightID user is not expected to do. Regular BrightID user is there to get verified for their app. They just want to see, okay, what are the steps that I have to do to get verified? Okay, you're telling me that I have to connect to some people until I get verified and then link to some apps. Okay, I can do that. And they follow the steps and they use their BrightID. That's 95% of users. Another 5% say, okay, I got BrightID verified. Now what? Is there something more I can do? Is there a way that I can earn money by continuing with BrightID and doing more with BrightID and bringing more people in, helping to ensure that the honesty is preserved. And that's what the Aura game is for. It's for those people. So from the point of view of an Aura player, I'm looking at my connections and I'm looking at them much more deeply than a regular BrightID user. I'm not just like a regular BrightID user. I make the connection. I decide, is this someone I just met? Is this someone I already know? Maybe in the future, there'll be some even stronger levels. You can say like, this is a close family member, a really close friend or something that I've known for a long time. So regular users can do that just fine. But the Aura player is expected to do more. They look at their connections and they look at the behavior of their connections, and they try to judge whether they're behaving honestly or whether they're Sybil attacking. And they can look at the connections that their friends have made, and make sure that they are the people they expect, and look at their activity. And again, this is allowed because when I make a connection in BrightID, I'm sharing some things with you peer to peer, and it's just kind of expected that so one of the features is that it's typically not someone new. You're going to get verified by people that you already know well. That's not going to be like the way it works with, like, let's say getting a passport in the US. You go into the passport agency, you meet someone that you've never met before, and then they ask you a whole bunch of questions and do background check on you. That's not what it's going to be like with the Aura game. It's going to be like someone you already know well, who already, they don't have to ask you a bunch of questions because they already know this information about you. They are going to just do some research and make sure that you're using the way that you're using your BrightID account makes sense with the person that you are and who they expect you to be connected to. And then they can give you their honesty points. They can assign you some honesty points, which allows you to be verified. The more Aura players you know, the better your chance of being verified. And so your job as a regular user is just to find at least one Aura player, or like we talked about yesterday in our Aura call, if you can't find an Aura player within your social group, maybe you should become the Aura player, or pick someone within your social group to become an Aura player and dive deeper into BrightID. So we don't need everybody to be an Aura player, but we just need a small percentage that can kind of connect up the whole world, and yeah, be willing to put in that extra time into BrightID. So that's kind of what it's about. Does that answer your question about privacy with regard to Aura?
Yeah.
And I would just like, Adam said it, but just like to clarify down to the small part, right? So the Aura game, just like the existing BrightID social graph, you are outing yourself to that social graph for those social relationships. That's true. But ideally, if BrightID is working correctly, when you link to an app, you're not giving that app any access to know even what user you are within the social graph. That's the key. So the social graph, yep, it's public, it's pseudonymous, but entities could figure out who's who through a variety of means, or just the fact that mono, I connect to you, I can now see exactly who you are on the graph. But great, so now you're verified, you go to use that on some website, that website doesn't know who you are. They just know that you're BrightID verified. And that's always been how we wanted it to work. It didn't fully work that way until blind signatures, and my guess is we'll figure out even better privacy preserving things in the future as more and more developers beat on this and smart people figure out ways to sniff out information, because just over time, like the future people are always smarter than the past people, but that works both ways. So like, the bad guys will get smarter at attacking the system, and the good guys will get better at defending the system.
Yeah, what I really like about Aura is it becomes the battleground, because before Aura, the battleground kind of was regular BrightID users, and regular BrightID users are not equipped. It's like sending civilians into the battlefield. It's not the right way to do it. But in Aura, you're gonna have like serious anti-Sybil soldiers, like people who are like really good at what they do and can just like destroy Sybil attackers. So that's like that's the whole point of Aura. And the apps, like Philip said, they don't need to know specifically about that person. Like they don't need to know what the Aura players know about that person. They just need to trust the process. So they can look like the Aura game and how it's played and how those verifications are achieved. That process is transparent, even though the details are not transparent. The process is transparent. So an app could be they look at that process and they say, yeah, that's a good process. They could even be an Aura player and they could know about their particular region and say, yeah, I've tried it out. I've been an Aura player. I see how this process works. This is a good process. I believe in it. I believe that this is going to produce good verifications. Okay, yes, I want to use this for my app. But that doesn't mean that they get to see all these details about all the people that are linking to their app. They don't, but they trust that it's a good process. And so that's how we preserve the privacy. And I really do hope that in the future, smarter people come along, like some new breakthroughs in cryptography come along that allow us to make the graph even more obscure, so that not just apps, but let's say governments or big corporations or something who are like trying to mine the BrightID graph for connection data or something, or that they'll be less able to do that because of breakthroughs in cryptography. So that'll be interesting to see how that works.
Awesome. So once again, we are like now deep into the AMA. If any of you guys have any other question, we can go from there. Well, just yeah, just we are here with Adam and Philip, well, and Michael. So you have the best guys to answer like any question, if it's technical or if it's just philosophical about variety. Okay, so if there's nothing else, well, sorry, if there's no question,
I got one.
okay.
Adam, something I tell people, and I'm not sure how this works. I say, yeah, you can sort of ask the nodes a whole variety of questions and get back, you know, the answer. What prevents someone from asking such a specific question that like it would out somebody?
Yeah, that's a really great question. That's why we have to be careful about information that we import into the BrightID graph, because so right now, let's say that there was a seed group, because right now we use seed groups, and let's say that the seed group had, let's just take an extreme example. The seed group has one member in it. And let's say the seed group's name and information is really like detailed. So let's say that it's like, you know, North Ontario Scrabble Club, and it's got, and like if you were to go to one of their meetings, there's like 10 people there every week or something, and someone creates a seed group and there's only one member in it, and then like some app queries that specific thing, and it gets a positive answer, and then they figure out, okay, well, this is obviously like Matt Jones, because that's the only BrightID user that actually goes to that club or whatever. So yeah, it's sort of like something that you kind of have to be aware of when you're sharing certain things with this is not like just peer-to-peer connection stuff. This is more like sharing facts and attestations with BrightID to contribute to being verified in some way. So you have to be a little bit cognizant of that, and realize when you're potentially outing yourself to the entire graph. And some people, might be okay with that, but you also have to consider that, okay, well, also anyone that connects to me is now also just one hop away from that person. And so kind of by proxy, maybe I'm sort of like not completely giving away, but maybe giving away a little bit of information to the entire graph about the people that I'm connected to. So it's like, you got to be a little bit like, if you want to do it right, you need to be aware of who you're connecting to, how exposed they are, and how much exposure you're creating for yourself with the verifications that you're getting. And I think people that are doing things like seed groups are at least somewhat aware of that. But maybe people that just go and connect up to the seed groups aren't so aware of that. I don't know. And the other thing that we want to add in the future is DAO reputation. So DAO activity. So let's say that, let's say you have a DAO with 1,000 members, and you want to import the fact that you've had DAO activity into the BrightID graph, kind of as like a badge that you can then share with other DAOs that are looking for people that have a positive past experience with DAOs. And so you import that. Well, if you import a DAO that only has one member in it, then you've just completely given yourself away. If you import your activity from a DAO that has 10,000 members in it, then you're still somewhat obscure. So, I mean, yeah, privacy is in BrightID is more about giving you complete control over who you share with. But you have to think about it a little bit. It's still a trade-off, and you have to think about it. You may say, okay, well, there's other ways to get verified where I don't have to share as much information, or maybe it'd be cool to share my DAO reputation, but I'd rather be more private. So I'm not going to import my DAO reputation. So it's kind of like, hopefully we leave that choice up to the users. I don't know. Does that answer that question at all?
Somewhat. I don't feel, like rock solid, especially in the sort of long term, but we'll figure it out as we go. And one of the reasons that I've stayed focused on this project is that its sort of morals and foundation are always in the right direction. So we may not always get it right the first time, but we're always, our guiding star is the right direction. And what we're competing against is so ridiculously far to the wrong side of the battle, where we know there's all these actors out there, governments, huge corporations that are actively trying to get every last bit of information they can possibly collect about you to extract from you, and in regards to you. So yeah, it'll be a long battle, but head in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think we need to be careful about what I think we as like stewards of BrightID should be looking at apps and what they require of their users. If there's an app that's saying like, okay, you have to go through this process where you reveal to us, like before we'll verify you, you have to reveal this data that from looking at it, we can see that there's no reason why people should be sharing that data, or it's too much. Then we should certainly step in and make recommendations and advise people. Maybe we could even go as far as removing an app from the app registry if it's being too intrusive to people's privacy. So there's things that can be done, because certainly people could start trying to morph BrightID into something that it shouldn't be, and trying to morph it into something that starts collecting data in kind of the old way that websites currently do, where they just ask you all this personal information to try to narrow you down. If we don't want BrightID apps to be doing that to their users.
Cool. Okay, so moving forward, we are now like, yeah, we have still time for a little bit of chat. I don't know if you guys want to just close now the probably just stop the recording and have a chat, or if you want to just keep going with our recorder AMA.
So yeah, I mean, something I'm curious about is are there any upcoming integrations, guests, topics for an AMA? It's good to plan ahead to know what we're gonna do. So that'd be
right now,
interesting.
So I have reached a couple of people that might be interesting to have, just to have something different in the AMA. But like now is Christmas time. People are a little bit burnt. Like I'm burnt right now. I wish I could have some vacations now. So yeah, and probably just we're going to probably have guests again at the beginning of the next year. Like unless you guys have someone in mind that you can invite to the AMAs. Or another thing that we can do, just take this rest of the month out of the AMAs
Yeah.
and just start again in I don't know, the second week of January.
Well, I saw that there's what was it called? It was called like not Land Collective. I'm trying to think. There's a new project. Let me look it up real quick. Oh, I think it's, let's see, which one is it? Is it Multiverse DAO? I'm trying to think. One of them's like launching next week.
Yeah, Multiverse DAO, and then there's also the one about all the voting.
Oh yeah, 13 votes or whatever.
13 votes. Yeah,
by Wayports. Yeah, which is the one? Wait, was it Multiverse DAO that's launching next week? Let me look, because one of them's launching next week. Like certainly, if a new app is launching on BrightID, we should give them a forum to like tell it. Yeah, they said that. Yeah, it's Multiverse DAO. So multiverse DAO is apparently like they want to do a land drop, I think, if I understand correctly, which is pretty cool. Like that's one of the things that I always thought BrightID would be really good for, is like governing land as a public good. So it's cool. I mean, it's like multiverse land, but still, I think it's pretty cool that they're using BrightID for their land drop. So they would be that would be a cool guest, I think.
Yeah, pretty cool. Like that's something that we need then to just well tell them. So everyone, if you're watching, come next week. We're going to have AMA. If we have these people for as guests, that will be awesome. If not, we are here. We're still here working for you. Um, yeah, that's awesome. So I'm going to stop now the recording. Thank you very much for listening to us. We're going to stay here just chatting. So thank you for joining. Cheers.